Hello, welcome to Armchair Author Chats. I'm your host, Rita, and today we're talking with another amazing author, J.D. Robinson, the author of Frostbite, which is upcoming, and we're going to get her to speak a little bit about that one. It's not quite out yet. I'm excited, and I know you will be too. Legacy of the Necromancer and Will of the Witch. Let's bring her on right now. Jen, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited that you're here with us today. Let's tell the audience, for those who don't know, how amazing of an author you are, a little bit about yourself and your books.
Yeah, so I've been writing for a little while and I just enjoy it. I love the escapism. So I write mostly urban fantasy with a little bit of contemporary fantasy and sci-fi as well. But mostly I like vampires. I like writing vampires.
I love that. Vampires are fun, and we're coming into that season right now, right? Where there's just vampire and fall and spooky. I'm in.
Mhm.
So one of my favorite questions I like to start with is, can you share the moment you first felt that spark to write your book? Whichever
Oh.
first book, whichever, or all three.
Well, I will start with Frostbite because this one was really near and dear to my heart. Um, it was, what was it, November 2012? It was middle of Nano. I was pregnant with my first son, and the book I had been trying to write was just not working. I could not get it to work at all. And so I was in the middle of a write-in and I felt bad. I didn't want to just sit there and stare at my screen. I had to be writing something. And so I started free writing for a sprint, and I came up with this vampire character. And that's how I got one of my main characters for this book, Reese. And I have just fallen in love with this story since then. So I ended up spending the rest of that November kind of writing scenes here and there from this book. And then the following November for Nano, I wrote a full first draft of Frostbite. And it's evolved a lot since then, but it was just magical, really
Isn't that
magical.
great when that happens? It's just sort of,
Yeah.
you start it one way, but then it just evolves into just perfection by accident, or whatever we want to call it, happenstance, serendipitous, whatever.
Yes. Yes.
So
So,
your
yeah.
books are roller coasters of emotions and adventure.
Mhm.
They're vampires. Hello. So what inspired you to write such captivating storylines?
I guess for me, it's reading captivating storylines. And I have been an avid reader since I lived in New Zealand in middle school, high school timeframe. And I just fell in love with vampire stories then. And so when it came to writing my own, it's just, how couldn't I? Like, how could I
Right.
not? Right?
Right. That's a great tip too, by the way, right? Because they say when you write, you get a lot of that inspiration and almost technical knowledge without even knowing it
Mhm.
from reading what you want to write ultimately, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you said you lived in New Zealand in middle school. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think you grew up traveling with your parents.
I did. So my dad was in the military. He was career military. And so my family is originally from North Carolina, but I was born in Oklahoma. My brother was born in Texas. And then shortly after that, we moved to Germany and then England. We spent 8 years together in Europe before moving to New Zealand. And it was just amazing to be able to travel. I got to see Scotland and
Oh,
Holland and all these amazing European cities. I got to go see Stonehenge and actually get almost like within touching distance of Stonehenge back when, we were
They didn't have
allowed
the things up then.
They had the little ropes up, but I could like reach out over it if I wanted to and actually touch it. That's how
You
close
probably
I was.
would have been forgiven too because you were a child, right? So
Probably, right? But yeah, and so New Zealand was my favorite out of all of the places we visited and lived. And I still have friends in Christchurch on the South Island. And
wow.
I hope someday soon to get back to see them again.
Well, I'm sure you will. And what a special treat, because I feel that could also help you with your writing, where if you want to take your characters anywhere, I mean, you've been.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
So can you give us a peek behind the curtain and kind of let us in on your writing routine, or maybe you have quirky habits when you're writing?
I don't know. I guess the quirky habit I have is I like to handwrite my first drafts of anything.
Wow.
I have my own little process. I don't do like a whole first draft in one go. I will write a chapter, and then I will put that chapter into Google Docs and go back, handwrite, and I kind of go back and forth. It takes me forever to write. I will say that, but
that's okay.
It's what works. So
You've got to let it percolate, and it's working. Right. Yes. Don't mess with the system if it's working.
Exactly. And if it doesn't work, then try anything else.
Yeah, if it's one thing I've learned about with HB90 was that it was just, if it's not working, there's reason. But if it's working, yes, don't touch it. So your characters, although vampires, they feel very real. Do you secretly borrow traits from people you know, or are they purely imaginative?
No, I feel like I do borrow some traits from people I know, and even myself sometimes. Reese, the character I was speaking about before in Frostbite, he has this condition that can be fatal in the vampire world. And I won't get into too many details. I don't want to spoil it.
No spoilers.
I do feel like I pulled a lot of my own experience from my autoimmune conditions and my own chronic illnesses into that. The same way I worked with Jack, the other main character of Frostbite, and putting in some of my own mental health struggles and whatnot into his character. So I probably do pull from other people that I know as well. But
right. Which is great. It's more real too. I mean, that's definitely what's bringing the life to them. So writing isn't always easy. How do you push through writer's block or tough days?
Oh, that's hard. I will try to switch it up by doing sprints, or I will change up how I'm writing, going from handwriting to using a different keyboard. But really for those hard days where I can't generate new words, I usually go back and try to edit something. I also have a tendency to work on more than one project at once. So if I am really stalled out on one project, I can usually find another project like, oh yeah, I can work on this one. And it'll flow really easily.
I think that's really relatable. That's very relatable. And that's a great tip.
Yeah. So that whole productive procrastination.
I love it. Purposeful.
Yes.
So can you share any funny or unusual stories that happened while you were writing or promoting one of your books?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure if I can think of any. I'm just so like that would caught me off guard.
I'm sorry, I promise no gotchas.
Oh no, it's okay. I guess there's always been fun there's always fun stories when I was writing with my Nano region before the pandemic and everything. And so it was always fun to get together with a group of writers. And so now, instead of meeting with my Nano region people and whatnot, I tend to get together with those in the Heart Breathings community and the sprinting community on YouTube. I think that's really it's just fun to write with other writers.
It is really fun. Do you want to let some of the audience know a little bit more about Heart Breathings, and maybe we have mentioned HB90 a little bit too, and about the sprints that you also do?
So Heart Breathings is a writing community that was started by my good friend Sarah Cannon. She and I met back in, was it 2009? And we were a part of, I guess she was a part of my first critique group. We built a critique group together when she lived here in Cary, in North Carolina. And it was fun because she has just built such an amazing place for writers to gather within the Heart Breathings writing community on Facebook. And from that community grew these online sprints that happen on YouTube, where a few volunteers from the Heart Breathings writing community run sprints on YouTube. And for sprint, if you don't know what sprints are, they're timed writing segments. We take the Pomodoro method and we write for 20, 25 minutes, and then we take a 5-minute break to chat and hang out and talk about all sorts of things.
Right.
So yeah, it's such an amazing, heartfelt community,
It
and
really is.
She's amazing.
What she's created is just absolutely amazing. It's how we met.
Exactly.
Such a supportive community. So, publishing a book is no small feat. What was your biggest aha when publishing your books?
I think the biggest aha moment was getting the paper copy of my books in my hand. Like, that moment of realizing this is actually possible. Like, I could do it. I've done it once. I can do it again and again. And I think that's just magic, really.
It is. It's so satisfying, and yeah, I love that. So if your book were to be adapted into a movie, who would you dream cast in the lead roles?
This is hard because I have not thought of who I would want to be Jack or Arya, who is the antagonist of the story. But Reese, I know exactly who I want Reese to be.
Ooh, I'm excited.
But I don't know if it counts because he's already played a vampire in another story. But Matthew Goode, he played the Matthew in The Discovery of Witches.
Oh yeah, he would be great, and he already has experience in the vampire thing. So I don't think that's as much a detriment as it is really in favor of him getting your role in your book. So
I hope so.
So we all love a good story or a good nonfiction. What's one book, not your own, that you would recommend for others?
This one is a no-brainer because I recommend it to everybody who asks me for a recommendation. It is a YA book, but It's called Hold Me Closer, Necromancer by Lish McBride. It is an amazing book, and it had me laughing out loud a number of times throughout this book. And it is the only book to date that I finished and immediately, right then, turned back to the first page to read again because it was just that good. I had to read it again.
I love that.
I love Lish McBride. Her stuff is amazing, and I highly recommend her to anybody who loves that sort of paranormal and YA kind of genres. So
I'm adding that to my TBR. So balance is key, and I know as a parent, you have
Mhm.
two beautiful children. How do you juggle writing with other responsibilities or interests and family?
Yeah, that this one's hard because I feel like there's always something that's going to come up that's going to distract you from your writing. Um, and so you just have to find a way to make it work. Um, for me, I will fit writing into little pockets of my day. If the kids are at swim lessons, I'm sitting there with a notebook or my laptop and I'm taking notes or I'm drafting, or I will um, sneak away after the kids are in bed to a coffee shop and grab a hot tea and write then for an hour or two.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I try to find, I either get up early or I stay out late, and I just try to make it work.
That's all we can do. That's great. That's great.
Yes.
So let's dream big. What's next on your creative journey? Any new projects or genres you're excited to explore?
Um, Not really. So I have Frostbite coming out in next month in October. And I am working on book two, the sequel to Frostbite. This story is so expansive, the that even my critique partner, I had given her the next book that I thought was book two, and she's like, "This might be book 4 or 5."
Oh,
I'm like, "There's so much that happens between those two books." I'm like, "Okay,
this
well,
is
I need to go
amazing.
back."
Right.
so,
So
so
it
yeah,
sounds
I'm
like an expansion of Frostbite
yes,
could be the
yes.
exciting new creative project.
Yeah, it's the sequel that what happens next. So
I
I'm
love that.
excited.
So I
Yeah.
have some fun bonus questions for you. What's
Okay.
your favorite writing snack or drink?
So I'm particularly fond of cookies and chips. They make a mess. I try not to eat them when I'm at my keyboard. Maybe when I'm writing by hand is okay. But other than that, I like chai tea and
Mm.
carbonated water and coffee, of course,
Yeah,
coffee.
that's perfect. That's perfect. I can relate. I all three. So, what quirky writing rituals do you have? Now, I know you handwrite
Too.
and do that, but are there anything other quirkiness thing you do when you sit down or in the process of?
So this this might be a little. I do consider myself an eclectic witch. I like to cast spells and light candles and all sorts of things. So sometimes when I am really struggling to focus, I will cast a little focus spell for myself and write. I'll light a red candle and I will say this little spell I wrote, and it I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's just what's the word,
Power of suggestion.
power of suggestion, yes, or whatnot. But it never fails. I will be solely focused. I will have no distractions until the candle burns out. And when the candle burns out, that's when I'm like, oh, someone comes and interrupts me, um, or I get distracted with something else. It just never
Well,
fails.
yeah, that's great. So it's working.
So yeah.
Okay, so one last thing. What piece of advice would you give anyone who wanted to write a book that you wish you had gotten?
Oh, I would say it's hard. Don't give up. And this is going to get really deep, but my
Bring
one of
it
my
on.
favorite one of my favorite quotes from Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a Buddhist monk,
Okay.
is "My dearest wave, you are water," and it's his reference to this ocean wave who is trying to find themselves. and find who they are when all along their waters. So don't forget, like, if you want to be a writer, all you have to do is write. You're already a writer. You're already an author. Just write and
Love
don't
that.
give up.
That's
So
perfect. That's great advice. Thank you so much, Jen, for being here. Would you like to leave our audience with the details on how they can buy your books and where we can find you?
So you can find me at my brand new website at SachilaWrites.com. And you can also find my stuff on hype.co/@Sachila. And my books are wide, so you should be able to find them in any ebook store and also on my website. So, and
Perfect.
then what is it? I stream on Mondays and Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern for writing sprints. So
That's right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Armchair Chats. Thank you, Jen.
thank you. Bye-bye.
If you like this interview, please like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to share. And for more information, the links will be in the description below. And also, we're going to be uploading it to the podcast, and you can find more there. Thank you guys so much for being here.